So, welcome to my YouTube channel. It's a new year, and I've decided to take posting on this channel a little bit more serious. Maybe no pressure. Maybe once in a month, I would post something for everyone, something beneficial. Especially if you're new to this channel, you need to know that perfecting womanhood is a movement for women, and basically our goal is to eradicate cultural norms and limitations that the African culture has put in front of women in achieving their goals or being just generally free and able to do what they wish and do what they desire for themselves. So that's just in plain and simple terms. We're trying to eradicate and take away limitations, either cultural or whatever you may call it, but mostly cultural limitations that women go through from a tender age up until they're grown adults in marriage with children. Every step of the way we meet with one limitation or the other, or one you can't do this or you shouldn't do that, or you're not meant to be doing this. As a woman, you're not meant to do that. So all of those don'ts that we encounter on a daily basis as a woman, this platform is here to also talk about all of those things. Talk about the issues that we go through that are not usually spoken about. So the things you would go through within the confines of your home, and you wish you could speak to one or two persons about it, but even when you eventually do that, you have to do that silently. You have to speak to your friends or to another woman about the issue, but silently. So we're going to be using our platform to amplify those issues and talk about them and make them a normal conversation, because it should be a normal conversations. Women have challenges and issues that they go through, which should be amplified, which should be talked about. So basically, this is what this channel is going to revolve around. What we're going to be talking about mostly women related issues, issues that women go through in workplaces, in the marriages, in the society at large, and just generally everything relating to women. So if you're new to this channel, welcome. The channel also is relatively new, so you joined at the right time. Welcome on board. We're going to be doing this together. We're going to be taking this journey together. And I hope that if you're a woman out there, you'd subscribe to this channel, because I'm sure and certain that you're going to, get useful information, and this channel is going to help you be able to push for your push and attain your goals and achieve your desires as a woman. Yes. So today I've been thinking about something recently, and especially because it's something I also went through when I just recently come out of university and I was searching for a job. However, because I went in for my master's after I finished my undergraduate, I spent some more time doing postgraduate degrees before I returned back to Nigeria and decided to search for a job. I got married before returning finally back to Nigeria to search for a job. So I'm going to be talking today about bias women face in the workplace, especially starting from the recruitment, the recruitment stage. not basically within. Maybe some other time I'm going to talk about, what we face within the workplaces, especially professional settings, But today I'm just going to be talking about, the recruitment stage of finding a job, especially if you're a woman and you're probably married, you're young, you're married, and then you're trying to start a career. So I had gotten married right before, while I was still studying. I'd gotten married while I was still studying, and I was away from. I was abroad when I was studying. So I came back to Nigeria, did my wedding, went back to continue my studies. When I was done, I came back to Nigeria to join my husband, and I then decided to start the search for a job. Mind you, I thought it was going to be a very smooth, sail. I was like, oh, I have 2 masters, or I have 2 postgraduate degree. I'm a lawyer. I've been called to the Nigerian bar. I can get whatever I want. But, the first job interview I went for was in a big organization. I was excited. I'd gotten the offer to come interview with them, and I was really hopeful. So I got into the interviewing room, and I met with a number of people, a panel to interview with, and I would say the interview was going so well. It was going so well, and then it got to a point which I must state that, if I recall rightly, I think it was a woman that asked that question. And from the point where she asked the question, the interview just went down. Like, it just went down the drain. Like, I just knew that nothing was going to come out of this. I already told you it was going fine up until the point where that question was asked. What was the question? She then asked me, "Are you married?" I said, "Yes." How many years have you been married for? I said, "Just months. I've been married for a couple of months." And she was like, oh, do you have kids? I said, "No." And then the question came, "Do you plan to have kids immediately? Since we see that, you just graduated, you have just returned to Nigeria, do you plan to start having kids?" I looked into her eyes and said, "Yes, I plan to start having kids." And she was like, "Oh, okay." And I just knew from that point, that no, because the enthusiasm and everything that individuals on the panel had to keep pushing and asking me questions and all of that, because we had been interviewing for a while. We had gotten to the, I could say the final stage of the interview when this woman asked me this question, and that was just it. I just knew that I was not going to be called back, because where I interviewed was a bank. I knew, and they were recruiting for their legal team or something. I just knew they weren't going to call me back. However, the interview went up until they asked me that question. That was great. Was flushed away. It didn't matter, and that was it. And it's not just that single interview. I've had cases where, they ask me questions when I interview. "How many kids do you have? How old is your youngest child?" You say below 1, and they say, "Oh, I don't think you can take up this job." And then my question comes, like, how do you put women in a position where, especially women who are trying to, do something for themselves after maybe having a child or having 2 kids or 3 kids, and they're trying to go back to their career? Why do we put them in a situation where they have to be blamed or be disadvantaged for having either a young child under 1, and as a result of that, they cannot? Do we ask the men the same question when they interview for a role in any establishment? Do you sit in in a panel do you ask the men if they come to interview? It wouldn't even make any sense to ask a man that, how many kids do you have? Well, if I'm wrong, if men have been asked this kind of questions in an interview, please, maybe they should come out to talk. But I know of a certainty I know that women that are being asked this questions in an interview are asked because it is important for the panel to decide based on the answer they give to these questions, the answers they give to this question, to decide whether the woman is a fit for that position, is a good fit for that position. So this is a problem as a woman, I faced trying to get a job in Nigeria. And most of my interviews have been asked that question. Either, when I was new in marriage, it was, do you plan to start having kids? When I started having kids, it was, how old is your youngest child? I don't think you'll be able to take up this role. This role is, is intense. We need somebody that will be on ground. We don't need somebody that would, have to go home early. And then, it's a different thing to talk about. It's a totally different thing when we want to go into, the type of questions or the recruitment process of organizations in Nigeria. That's a totally different story, because if I should start with that, I'm not going to end this video. It's a totally different story. Generally, the recruitment process in Nigeria is trash. And until we start talking about it, but the major issue why we don't talk about all of these things is because majority of the population or the unemployed people in Nigeria are desperate. So they will take whatever comes their way. However they are being treated, however they are being talked to or treated or delayed, in an organization when they're trying to interview for a position. They don't talk about it. Maybe they will only come to talk about it when they didn't get the job. But if they eventually got the job, they're just never going to talk about it. And the very funny thing is that when they end up being in the same position to interview somebody else, they do exactly the same thing. And this is one of the fundamental issues we have in Nigeria. The fact that we identify the problem when the attack or when the injustice was done against us. But we identify it, but after identifying that, time takes over it, and we end up continuing, like repeating the cycle, repeating it to someone else. We are very good, especially with the social media world. We're very good to talk about. We talk about a lot of things where it's very easy to bring up an issue, talk about it, and everything dies down after a while. But what happens after that? Nothing. So the major issue is that, the recruitment process in Nigeria as a whole is trash. But then that's not the issue. That's not the reason for this, talk today. The reason we're doing this today, I'm doing this today, is to talk about how this has directly affected women. I've read cases of women saying, I decided to, start doing something for myself now. I'm done having kids. I want to go back. Some even left their jobs when they started having kids and decided, to take a break and then go back after. And they realized that when they try going back after, they don't just feel like they're part of this anymore. Some don't even get an opportunity to prove themselves. You've been out of the system for a while. Some are given roles that they're like, wow, how can I be here? I was there before. So because I went to go and give birth and I took 2-3 years, off, this is now my level. That is there. And then for some others, it's just they don't fit in. They don't fit in. I'm not entirely saying we don't play a part in all of this, because, for example, let's talk about something else. I've seen a movement, as much as we talk about gender equality. Well, that's not a case for today. I've seen a movement online, not in Nigeria, I think, somewhere, where women were trying to sign a petition. And what was the petition about? They wanted to get days off work during their menstrual period. And when I saw that, I was like, we're asking for gender equality, because it was under the gender equality. This is a natural thing, if men were to be going through menstrual blah blah blah, they would have days off. I don't know. I wouldn't entirely say that's true or wrong. I don't know if maybe that would have been the case. But my point is, we're already disadvantaged in the professional world. Why? We are the ones who carry kids and have to give birth and have to go on maternity leave. We are the ones, the female gender. We are the ones who have to take maternity leave, be out of work for a year and a half after we have our kids, and then we come back to work. For those who don't entirely say, I'm no more going back to work after my maternity leave. You go back to work, and then in the next a year and a half, you're pregnant again. In 2 years, you're taking another mat leave. And then in the next 2 years again, you're taking another mat leave. We're already disadvantaged. All these times we take off, the men in your company didn't take all of those time off. So it is just common sense when they want to promote or they want to give more a leadership role to someone who probably you started at the same time with at the workplace, to give it to the other person, whether male or female, who has been consistently at work all of these years that you were taking some 6 months here, some 9 months there, some another 6 months here off. It doesn't necessarily have to be the man in the office. If there was a lady who had been consistent, maybe was done giving birth, or is not married, or is divorced, or is elderly or older than you, done giving birth, and has been consistently at work for the past 5 years, without taking all of this 6 months here, 3 months there, apart from the times where you take sick leave, or you take because your son or your daughter was sick, you took that time off to take care of them, some 2 days here, some 3 days here. It is just normal for them to give that consistent, colleague of yours the leadership position, because the way the management will think is that, okay, we need a stable person. We need a consistent person. We need a person that can show up. We need someone who can dedicate time and effort. And that is not, as much as we want to say, that's a disadvantage on us, blah, blah, blah. Every organization wants people that they can call at the snap of their finger. Unfortunately, we are not those set of people. Because when we get home, we go into our domestic duties. We are not those set of people to be called at the snap of our fingers. So that alone has put us in a very disadvantaged position. So when we start asking for more, give me break during my menstrual cycle. I cannot show up because I have. Yes, I perfectly understand. I'm a lady too as well. And I know some people have this menstrual thing really serious. I have a cousin of mine that she is practically useless those days. I know it's a medical condition or something, but most of us don't know it's a medical condition. If you are in pains, like during not the normal threshold, like serious pains where you're rolling on the floor, you can't get up, you can't do all of these things, see a gynecologist that knows what he or she is doing, like a really good gynecologist. Not all gynecologists know this. a really good gynecologist. It is a medical condition that can be treated. But yes, so I know some people have it really bad. Really bad. But then, don't you think that when we begin to push for so much more that would keep us out of work, we are still pushing for something that is going to put us in a disadvantaged position? So it's enough that we have to be off because we want to give birth, because when the child is sick at school, they call you the mom. And this is a small problem in a serious major issue, because it shows that when I talk about, there are just a lot of things going through my head at the moment. I'm just trying to narrow all of them down. When I talk about gender equality, I talk about gender equality not from I'm the same as the man. I understand biblical principles as regards this, and headship. When it comes to biblical principles, headship is a position of responsibility. Is a position of responsibility. And as a woman, you are uniquely created. You should even not be in competition with your man, because the way God has created you, the position God has put you in, if you understand that, you would dare not even say you want to rub shoulders. So we're not talking about that today. But the point is, there's a bigger issue. There's a bigger issue, and it's cultural. And the bigger issue here is that the burden has been placed on women to be everything domestic. Your child is sick in school, they call the mom. Irrespective of the fact that the mom works 9 to 5, they call the mom. Your child is sick, you have to come pick up the child. So she has to take, time off work. Sometimes she had, I know of a friend of mine at some point who had just stepped into her workplace, and she got a call. She had just dropped her daughter, got into work. On getting to work, Lagos traffic, everything. She had not settled in for 30 minutes or so, and she got a call from school. Your daughter is hot. You need to come pick her up. She had to leave work. At that point, you won't think about the fact that, my boss is annoying, my boss is saucy, my boss will not listen to me. Everything in your head right there is, I need to get to my child. I need to get to my child. Irrespective of what your boss is going to say to you at that point, I just need to get to my child. That's what comes to mind. So the bigger problem here is parenting is not just for the woman. But in this part of the country, in this part of the world, we have put this burden solely on the shoulders of women, apart from the financial aspect of it. So a man is seen as a good parent if the man provides for the financial needs of the home. This is the problem we have here. And when it's being said outside, all that is being said is, shush, is it bringing money in? Does it take care of his children? It gives you money? It gives the kids are in good schools? Oh, fantastic. He's a good father. No. That's not what makes a man a good father, or that's not what makes a man a good husband. It's not just the financial aspect of parenting that makes parenting. There's the emotional aspect. There's everything that has to do with it. So when we're trying to tackle the issue of, women spend lesser time at work, women, take so much off, they are not always at work, they go for this leave, maternity leave, that leave, We should not talk about it like that's the issue. That's not the issue. Why they have to do all of these things and be absent for these times is because there is a burden in this part of the world that rests solely on the woman. If you've traveled abroad or you read about things going on, abroad, if you read well, you would understand that apart from the fact that in some countries, especially Australia that I know of, they give paternity leave, and the paternity leave is not 2 weeks. The same way they will give maternity leave is the same way they will give paternity leave. There is nothing like, oh, your daughter is out at work or at school, or your son is sick, and they're giving a call to the mom. They give a call to the parents who has shown up the most. So if it happens to be that it's the dad that comes to drop them, that comes to pick them up, that does all of these things, or they call both parents. There is no burden on anyone. And also, I would also like to add that I'm not saying that this setting doesn't work too abroad. There are a lot of families too that are like that who plays, but I'm just trying to say, here in Nigeria especially, it is seen as normal. It is seen as normal. If a child is sick, it's the mother that will not go to work. Oh. If the child is just recovering and the other ones get sick, it's the mother that will not go to work. It's the mother that won't go to work. So when we put all of these off days together, it is only normal for the head of any organization to feel like that woman cannot take up leadership positions. And that's why I've heard this saying, even though it's unverified, I haven't verified it, and I don't think anybody has verified it, that most women who reach leadership positions in professional settings are either divorced, or they're elderly, or they don't have kids, or all of these things. Is unverified. But what we know is that I have personally gone through the stage of being married, having kids, and all of these things, and as it stood as a disadvantage to me when it came to getting a job, or getting a certain position, or even getting the job and deciding if I'm to take it or not. Of course yes. But then let's go to the brighter side of it. Did I make all of those things weigh me down? No. I know I know my worth. I know what I have right here. And I know that my worth is not based on, if I'm not working in a particular office, if I'm not doing this, if I'm not doing that, then I'm nothing. And this is where I'm going to end this video on. I'm going to try as much as possible to encourage women. I know this is a disadvantage that we go through, especially if you are a career woman and you're pushing to make a career for yourself despite being an homemaker and all of these things, and it's difficult. Some women have actually given up and said, you know what, let me just open a shop, let me find something to sell, or let me start producing something, let me start doing something with my hands. Whatever you have to do to make it work, do it. Because we have to talk about these things more often, and also speak about it to get people to understand, and the public to understand that as much as we face all of these things, we definitely know the root cause of it. The root cause of it is not the fact that, I gave birth and I gave birth and because of that I can't go back to work. It's because of the kind of burden that has been placed on women in this part of the world. We have to step up with our men. And this is deeper than it seems. We have to get our men to step up to responsibility. I'm not talking about financial responsibility. I'm talking about other responsibilities as regard parenting. If a child is sick and I take off as the mom to take care of the child and I couldn't return back to work in a week, if another of my child gets under the weather and needs attention, there is nothing wrong for the man to demand for that time off if you consider the career of your wife important as yours, and not this belief that as long as the man is still in job, the woman can lose her job. Marriage is meant to grow you, it's meant to improve you, it's not meant to take from you. And it's a partnership, it's a joint effort. So as much as a man considers his work important, the woman's work too is important. Her career is important. It doesn't matter what her pay is. So we are not talking about, oh yeah, the man earns 500k or he earns 1 million naira and she earns 200k. What does that 200k, do for the family? That's not the point. There is sanity and stability that comes from the fact that, she stands up in the morning, goes to work, does what, especially when she's doing what she enjoys. The fact that she's probably earning 200k or something is majorly because she's been on maternity leave 2, 3, 4 times. And she has not gotten to the position she desires. And right now that she's done giving birth, she's trying to push herself a little further so she can begin to, reach for what she desires. But she's not going to get it if she keeps going in and out of work, because she needs to take care of you both's kids that are getting sick here and there, because it is normal for kids to get sick when they go to school. So financial responsibility is not parenting. And until we start talking about these things, our men are doing well, they're doing fantastic. It is not easy for a lot of them are, going beyond an extra to provide for the family. Yes, we see that, we appreciate it, and we're thankful for the good men out there. We appreciate them. But then, our struggles are different. Our struggles are different. If we want to talk about what the women are going through in their homes, to make a home, to give birth to children, the journey of pregnancy, the journey of giving birth, the journey of sleepless nights when they're taking care of the kids and nurturing them to, grow, and all of these things, and all they have to go through while doing this, putting their career on hold. A lot of them losing their career, a lot of them losing themselves. We are not trying to compare here, but the struggles are totally different. The men go through theirs valid. They do a fantastic job in providing. But then, it should not stop at that. And we are thankful also to the men who are doing it all. They're providing financially, they're hands-on, they're taking care of this kid, they're waking up at night with their wives to take care of the kids and going to work in the morning. We see you. If you are that kind of dad, I mean, God bless you. God bless you. If you are taking off when your children, are under the weather as a man, God bless you. But we have men who are even self-employed, and they are not there. The wife that has a 9-to-5 will be the one to leave her job and get the query to show up for the child. So when we're talking about when women go through and the bias and the disadvantage they face at work, we should not just talk about that single-handedly. We should deal with the root cause of that. They are out of work mostly because they don't get support at the home front. They don't get that support. That's why they are always out of job. And once you are always out of job, don't blame it on the organization. When they skip over you to pick a more stable person for promotion, for leadership positions, for this and that. They are not going to put their organization, they are not going to gamble with their organization with you, who will show up today and tomorrow you don't show up. All you are just going to realize is that you are not moving forward. They are not promoting you. Your salary is not increasing. Because in their mind, they are like, we don't know. We can give her this position tomorrow now. She says she can't show up for 2 weeks because, her daughter is sick. Or then she gets pregnant tomorrow again and, So until we change until something is done with the way we view parenting, and we view partnership, especially in marriage, and responsibilities, until there's a shift in mindset in this part of the world, then we'll understand that that alone can change a woman's entire life. A shift in mindset. And that's why the burden, I'm sorry to say also, has now been placed on our shoulders to train our boys. Rightly now. Because it will be, I'm sorry to use this word, foolishness on your part as a woman who have seen and identified all of these problems, and you have been blessed with male children, and you are raising them this exact same way your husband was raised. To think that, it's the job of the woman. I was speaking with a young man, I think about a year ago, who was just about finishing up from the university, and I don't even know how the conversation got there, but I remember him saying, a young guy, university, maybe he was in 300 level in Unilag or something, and we just had a random conversation, and I was asking him, I don't know how we got there, honestly, but I remember him just talking, and in the middle of all he was saying, he said, it's the responsibility of the woman to cook. It's the responsibility of the woman to cook. I didn't have a problem with what he said. Or more like I didn't have a problem with it to the point that I wanted to respond to him at that point. But then he went further to then say, he sees it solely as a responsibility of the woman, to the extent that even if he gets married to a lady who closes later than he does, he would get back home, sit down, and get himself busy, reading something till she gets back from work, goes into the kitchen and fix him some food to eat. And then, I'm not even going to talk about the other things that are wrong with that. I'm just going to talk about that situation in line with what we're talking about. So imagine a woman who comes back from work at maybe 7-ish, comes back from work, she has kids at home who are already famished because daddy came back from work at 5 p.m., picked them up from school probably, and is waiting for mommy to come and feed them and feed him. Let's train our sons. That's just what I'm going to say. Let's train our sons to take responsibilities, to be responsible for themselves. Even if you don't want to be responsible for someone else, be responsible for yourself. When it comes to responsibilities, there is not, especially when in the confines of marriage, there is nothing called gender roles. It's the culture here that has normalized this. Oh, it's the man that is supposed to do this. It's the woman that is supposed to do this. It's the man that is supposed to do this. We have a lot of women who are in charge of the finances of their home. But you won't hear their men come and shout outside and talk. And there are a lot of men too as well who are doing these domestic chores even when they have a 9 to 5. When your marriage is built on the right foundation, laws do not stand. Love and law cannot be in the same space. I'm deviating. Love and law cannot be in the same space. It's just as simple as the New Testament and the Old Testament. One had to give way for the other. You can't claim to love someone and within that same space that you claim love existing, do your things based on laws. I can't. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't do this. I can't do that. That's contradictory. So when men begin to support women, especially when it comes to the aspect of parenting and homemaking, when men shift the mindset from once I provide for you, I provide for this home, you're good to go. You can knock yourself out with any other thing and do it. That's your responsibility. Until we get to a point where there's a shift in that mindset, that's when we'll begin to see more women thrive in their career, take up more responsibilities, begin to do more things. But then this does not apply probably to people that, have helps. But even if you have helps and all of those things, when your child is sick in school, they're not going to call your help. So, but this is just for those that are trying to build a career in a professional setting, a 9 to 5 and all of these things. And mind you, we've not even spoken about how, some close so late and they get home, they still have to do a lot of things and then still have to wake up very early the next morning. We cannot overemphasize the fact that support is what is needed. Support is what is needed. But yeah, I just thought to, throw this out there. I would love and appreciate if your comments are dropped. I'd love to know your thoughts and what you think, in places where you felt maybe I wasn't 100% right, or, in points where you felt, oh, yeah, that's it, she's right, Please drop your comments below and kindly share the video, like the video, comment, yeah, and have a good rest of your day. Bye.